everybody. I'm very excited for our guest today. I know I always say that, but I truly am. I know her story is going to be one that you all want to hear. This is the IMG Success Stories, the series that you all love and then I love to host. My name is Amanda. I'm the Director of Communications, and some of you may know me, some of you may not, but I'm happy to be here either way. And I'm going to let our guest tell you a little bit about herself before we get going.
Right. Hi everyone. Hi fellow IMGs. My name is Miracle. I'm from Nigeria. I wanted to say originally from, but I'm from Nigeria and I went to medical school in Ukraine. So that's what makes me an IMG. I graduated in 2022, applied for the March in 2023, and yeah, now I'm starting my PGY1 in internal medicine.
Heck yeah, congratulations. I'm so happy
Thank
for you.
you. Thank you.
Wow, that's a really unique story though. So not only are you a non-US IMG, but you didn't even go to medical school in the country that you're originally from. So
Yeah,
what was that? That's really interesting. What was that journey like? How did you land on residency in the US?
I think that was like one of the most common questions I got in my interview. I think it's pretty unusual in the US. So I have many of my interviews wanted to know, like, you were from Nigeria, how come you went to Ukraine for medical school? So in Nigeria, it's pretty common to do that. It's pretty common to, travel abroad for medical school. And I wanted to explore that. I think I had someone do that and I just thought it would be a nice experience to travel. And I did that and it ended up being a good experience. So my journey to US residency, I think it started maybe around second year or so. So once you start, it depends on the company that you keep or the people that you meet. You kind of have people tell you that, okay, these are the potential opportunities post-graduation, and then they want you to start thinking on time, is what do you want to do? So I think I was I think incredibly blessed to have people who wanted me to figure out what I wanted to do. And it then turned out that most of them had so much to say about this assembly pathway. And I decided to explore it. So they shared materials, just people just telling you you have to think now. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I did that and I was able to do step one before I graduated and then completed the rest of the journey after I graduated.
Wow, okay. So you going into it, you didn't know, you said it was around your second year, and you were
Yes.
kind of influenced by like mentors and people around you.
Yeah.
What was their like overwhelming factor? Was it because they thought that you'd be a great candidate for a pathway, or was it because they thought that you would flourish coming to the US based on something specific? Like, I'm just curious why they necessarily push you that way, which is great. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think it was just like everybody knows that the US has like I think one of the best training programs, the most structured, and they're just like something for everyone. And I think they wanted me to pursue that. Maybe they felt like, oh, this is something that could benefit me, and they thought that, oh,
Well,
if
they
I
saw a lot
started
of
early,
potential in you. I'm sure they saw a lot
yeah,
of potential in you, and they saw,
yeah.
look,
I
like
mean, and
you
I
can go really
appreciate
far,
that.
and you deserved it. I love that. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that because it was very early in my med school, so I appreciate having that very early on.
That is. I
Yeah,
mean, it's hard too because especially when you're going to, a school outside of the U.S., the advising for the application process isn't really there. But when
yeah,
you have amazing mentors and peers and a support system like that, of course, it makes it a lot more doable.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I love that for you though. So I'm sure like when you were preparing after you've graduated, now you are preparing for step two and you're also getting ready for like the residency application
Yeah.
process. How did you manage that? I'm sure you leaned on your support. Like what tools did you use? How did you prioritize your time?
Right. So I think it was one of the hardest things I had to like face because that was the year when the war happened. So I was in final year when the war, like the Russia-Ukraine one happened, the Russia-Ukraine war happened, and I'd already started for step two, and then the war happened. So this was me
Wow.
trying to get to somewhere that was safe, trying to get back to my home country, trying to figure out am I even going to graduate, before thinking about what the next
Oh
steps are.
my God. I'm like
Yeah,
teary-eyed hearing that. Like that sounds really stressful and like upsetting.
yeah, it
You
was.
were
It
kind of
was
in
in that
survival
moment.
mode at that point. You were like, I just have to figure out what I'm gonna do, really.
Yeah, it was in that moment because like you live in the country and you don't even know are you going to complete medical school. And then this was me who I think I'd taken step one maybe 2 months prior to this incident. So I'm like, did I waste my time? Um, yeah.
I
But then I
got
think
you.
yeah, I was it was a rough year, but thankfully I was able to graduate and I think the US also just gave us some leverage. Like, okay, we know that you cannot reach out to some of your medical school officials. We know that you might not be able to do the whole thing, regarding the Form 183 and all that, but it's fine. You can email it to us from wherever you are in the world. And that was what did that for me. So this was me just waiting. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And once they reviewed that policy for us, I had just got on it and I already started for my exam, and then I was able to take it in the next year. Right.
I'm honestly a little emotional right now because no, it sounds like, I mean, this was kind of like what you were steadfast about, right? So you're going through all these hardships, you're really struggling, you don't really know what your next path looks like, but you are just optimistic about like this is your end goal, and that was all you could imagine. And I'm sure
Yes.
like that resilience though is going to translate into how you are as a healthcare provider, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Like honestly, like you I love that. I'm like, I want you to be my doctor. You're never gonna give up on me. Like I know, that's so impressive. And I
Yeah.
can't even imagine. So you're finishing up now. So you finished up. I'm assuming you didn't stay in Ukraine for the application
Um,
process.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
obviously.
was in Nigeria. Yeah, I did everything from Nigeria.
Okay. So you were able to get out and go back to Nigeria.
Yes.
Wow. That's crazy though. I I mean, congratulations on your match. Like I have to say congratulations
Mhm.
on your match because that's amazing. But like I'm in awe like of the fact that you went through all of these like it's hard enough going through the application process, right? Like there's 1,000 hoops to jump through. It's expensive, it's stressful. It's hard not to compare yourself to all the statistics and all the things that you see out there.
Yeah,
But on top of
yeah,
that, you were not in a safe place. So you were
yeah,
literally just in survival mode and you just looked at yourself and you said, I can do this from anywhere in the world. I can reach out, I can work on myself, I can make myself an amazing candidate. And that's exactly what you did. Like you're proof that it can happen.
yeah. I think that's something that I would just like to say is that sometimes you don't know how much strength you have until you are in the moment. So I know I tell people who when they're starting the journey, they're already overwhelmed because of they're thinking about step one, step two, and
Yeah.
how am I gonna match? And I tell them, just relax, take one step at a time. You don't know what you're capable of until you get there. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, truly, you have no idea. And I mean, you can still come out on top. Like you can have all of these things be thrown at you and show that I'm going to persevere and I'm going to follow my passion and I'm going to make sure that I get the education that I deserve. And honestly, that's so admirable. Like you just said on heart, like that's one of the best stories I've ever heard. Like I'm like taken aback right now.
Yeah.
But moving forward, obviously, so you come back, you're in Nigeria now, you're preparing for the match. Um, what were you doing? How did you decide your specialty? How did you decide what programs to apply to? What was that process like for you?
Okay, so I think I had an inclination that I was gonna do internal medicine back in medical school, but I wasn't like very sure. But it was I think I was just doing elimination. I think I don't want to be here because of this. This specialty looks great, but I don't want this because of that. But I wasn't like very sure of what I wanted to do. So I think it just happened. Maybe the war became, in a sense, a blessing in disguise because when you I think I just in the moment where like I'd lost everything, like and you know I think I was just shocked at how much I wanted to be a doctor. I was, um, I don't know how to explain it, but when you're in medical school, there are like lots of exams, lots of things thrown at you, and then sometimes you forget why you started in the first place. So
Yeah.
that moment when it was just me, thinking, what's my life going to look like? I think I was incredibly shocked at how much I really wanted to practice medicine, and I think I began to think about it. Okay, my picture as a young girl who wanted to be a doctor, what did she want? What kind of doctor did she want to be? And that's what led me to internal medicine. So when I came to Nigeria, I went to a facility. I told them that I don't have a license. I just need to be in the hospital environment. This is what I'm preparing for, and I need to be clinically active. And I want to explore internal medicine department. And I went there, and I think on the first day, I just knew I wanted to come back every day. I think I would say I found my place there, and that was how I chose a specialty.
I mean, this all feels so kismet. I mean, this all feels as though everything happened the way that it was meant for you to understand who you
Yeah.
are. And I think it's also really powerful that in that moment of indecision of what is my world going to look like? What is my tomorrow even going to look like? Really, like, I don't know what my life is going to look like. I'm just trying to find safety and clarity. And you knew there was a defining moment for you that I know I'm meant to be a doctor. Like I
Yeah.
know that no matter what it is, that this is where I'm meant to end up. And I mean, as horrible as it is that you went through all of that, like you said, I mean, it probably brought you a lot of strength and it made it very clear, like, I'm not going to give up. This is exactly what I'm doing, and this
Yeah,
is what I'm driving for.
yes, yes. I think it was in that moment I knew that, and it was after 6 years of medical school, but that was the moment I really knew that I really wanted to do this. I really love this, and I want to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, because you can go through medical school and you don't really know what it's like to be a doctor. You're just
yeah,
studying, you're a student, you don't really know what your life is going to look like, the hours that it's going to be, the dedication, the hardships, really, like it's not going to be easy all of the time. And you realize that this is what I want to do, this is how I want to move forward. And I'm so happy for you. And I love that you found this clinic, internal medicine, it clicked for you. And so you're moving now into, you've had this experience. I'm sure you've had strong letters of recommendation because you're lovely. And I would write you a letter of recommendation. um,
yeah. I did.
so you are going in. How did you decide like the programs? Were you geographically driven? What was your,
Yeah, so I think something that everybody can agree on, like this journey is so overwhelming.
yes.
So after I done my step 2 and OET, I think it was around March, April. So I knew that I had to figure out where I wanted to go. So I think the first thing I did was to go on Residency Explorer, and people were like, oh, there's like a percentage of IMGs that you should see in a program to make you comfortable enough to apply. But then even as I did that, I had like a list of more than 300, and I didn't know how to start. Right. So I think that was what led me to Matcha Resident. I'd heard about it and I wasn't like very sure. It's like good value for money. I think I remember sending a DM and asking a few questions. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. So I paid and it turned out to be a good investment because what that did for me was that it gave me a list and I could start from somewhere. So the feeling of being overwhelmed, I don't even know where to begin. So people say, oh, pick one state and begin from that state. And there are like about 50 states in the US and he wasn't helping. You know,
It's a lot of
yeah.
lists.
Yes. So I got that list and I said, you know what, I'm going to start with this list. I have like maybe 200 compatible programs. I'm going to start with that. And I think I liked three things. One, I did not have US clinical experience. So I needed to have a filter that let me know that these people really want this or they do not want that without me having to score each website.
Yeah.
So Matcha then did that for me. And then the second thing it did, it gave me which medical schools or which there's a feature that says people from your
Medical
medical
school
country
link. Yeah.
have
When
interviewed
a
here.
candidate from your school has also
Exactly.
matched.
And that was very huge for me because I knew that I didn't have the finances to apply broadly. I actually applied to 80 programs. So I knew that I didn't have the finances to apply to 200 or 150. And I wanted to be sure that if I was applying to a limited number, there were programs where I had at least a good chance at. So I started off with, okay, places where people from my med school country had interviewed, which materials then gave me, places where people from my med school had interviewed or matched. So that was like my first list. And then places where I had attended their meet and greets during the season, where I felt like, okay, maybe I might be a good fit. I applied to those places. And then I got to maybe know two people who had similar profiles as me. They had matched in the previous year. So, I asked them, I got a list of where they had gotten interviews because I felt like if you interviewed them and we have similar profiles, maybe you would also interview me. And I applied to those places. And, that's how I just like did that. And during the interview season, I came back again to Matcha Residence because there is some news like just below the interview like details. So
Interview
people are
feedback from
saying,
other candidates.
yes,
Yeah.
people are saying what to expect. So I'm not so worried. I know what to expect going into the day. Okay, the PD is this person is this. I'm like, okay, now I know how to prepare. So that's how I use it during the
You're
season.
making me so happy. I'm
Yeah.
so happy that we could be part of your journey in some way because, like, you're so inspirational. So I love that. No, that is one of the things too. Like, obviously, people always say, like, especially for an IMG, they say apply broadly, apply broadly. Okay, but that's also applying expensively. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not cheap to just apply to 200 programs. If you can do that or you decided that's the best path for you, then total support, obviously. But in some
Yeah.
cases, like what we always say is apply smart. So apply
Yeah.
to programs that you're not wasting your application, that I
Exactly.
already fit their credentials. They are actually going to consider me. And also that it's a program you would want to be at. Like you don't want to
Yeah,
just start applying and wasting your time on a program that you would go and be like, oh, just kidding. Like I wouldn't want to live all the way out here in this, you
yeah,
know what I mean? Or
yeah.
whatever it is, whatever the case may be. Some people want to live in nature and they don't want to live in the city that's super congested. Just keep these things in mind, like what life looks for you as a resident.
Yeah. I think that something that I learned during the interview season, because coming into the interview season as an IMG, you just want to match. Everybody does want to match, but sometimes we forget that as much as we want to match, we also need to be happy where we match, at least to an extent. Yeah, residency is hard, it's stressful, but you also want to be where you're wanted. You want to be where you're going to thrive. So having that mindset changed things for me. I'm grateful I got that during the season. My first interview, the PD was so warm. She let me know that, oh, you're a big deal. You're not just begging us for a spot. You have to see yourself as someone who, so it just changed my mind. So going forward, as much as I prepared for my interviews, I just realized that, oh, I'm also interviewing these people because I'm going to be with you for the next 3 years. I need to be sure that I'll be happy
Girl,
here as well.
the
Yeah.
amount of times I say that every time. I say that every time I talk about interviews. As much as you're interviewing them, they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them. It's
Yeah.
about your, like, literally I just said that in my last interview. It's just funny that you said that too. And I think it's really ringing true that that is the mindset of a successful applicant, right?
Yeah.
Like a mindset of a successful applicant is knowing what you're worth, what your qualities are, and what you're looking for in a program that's
Yeah.
going to help you grow.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not even easy to arrive at that, I must admit, because there are like thousands of applicants and it's easy to compare yourself because I know I did that. I didn't have US clinical experience, so I was pretty insecure about that coming into the season because I thought like, okay, who is gonna pick me above people who have been in the US grinding? And I appreciate the hard work that they did, right? So I thought like these people have been working so hard. Yes, I didn't have a visa and it was very expensive for me to come into the US at the time. But I also thought about it. These people are they're in the US and they're talking, and they have 3 months, they have 4 months. Who's going to pick a girl who's applying remotely who has never been in the US? So I think after having that first interview, like it just changed my mindset. And I began
I'm
to think about
really
it.
so proud of you. Honestly, like you are the ultimate of what we want to have at Match a Resident. Someone that the odds are stacked against you. You're going through major hardships, but this is your dream. This is your goal. You don't
Yeah,
have all the money in the world to just apply to everything, and you definitely can't afford to go through the match again. So you need to be sure of what you're doing in your next
yeah,
steps.
yeah,
Like, I'm just in awe, really. Like, no clinical experience too. Like, that's not
yeah,
like obviously it is hard. That is hard to match with no clinical experience. So it's not an
yeah,
easy thing to achieve. So, like, really good for you. Like I'm
yeah,
taken back by how much your just like sheer will and determination achieved a
yeah,
successful match essentially. Obviously your dedication, but like it's so impressive.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I think I just need more people to know that even if we do have red flags, it's like there is one other person or maybe even 10 other people who have matched with that red flag. So it's like, what are you going to do about it? Don't kill yourself about it. So I think because I knew I was not going to get US clinical experience, I also didn't want to just sit back and say, oh, I didn't have the money, so I didn't do anything. So I just said, okay, I know that tele-rotations are not necessarily the best resort, but I can do this. And when it came up in my interviews, my interviews, I told them that, oh, I didn't have the opportunity to come to the US, but I really wanted to learn at least as little as I could. And I wanted to tell them that I was someone who sought opportunities. I was someone who took initiative, right? So I had to do the online 2 months of online tele rotations, and I ended up talking about some of them in my interviews, and it worked out. Yeah.
I mean, I that's also the same thing. Like maybe I couldn't achieve everything, but I could do everything that was achievable to me. Like
Yeah.
everything that I could make happen, I made happen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what your argument was going in. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't see any reason why that should discredit you. Like I think given your all of your other experiences, like why not just because you weren't able to come to the US? I don't think that that really matters, to be honest. So I'm glad that you stood true to that. Honestly, I feel like confidence is a lot of it too. Like when they ask you these questions, being confident in, listen, I know I couldn't do this, or I know that maybe my step score was low. Maybe I'm an older grad. Maybe I have an attempt on step one. But these are the reasons why I am still an amazing candidate, what I've learned from that, and why I can show that that helped me grow.
Yeah, and the people who are reviewing the applications, people who are interviewing us are also human beings. They also have personal struggles and things like that. So, um, the they're not gonna hate you, because you had some hardships, Well, you're gonna want to give them reasons why they should also pick you as well, because they're interviewing maybe 300, 400 people and they're very qualified as well, right? So you can't go in there feeling like you're the worst person. They called you there for a reason. So show them the reason why they called you. Yeah.
I completely agree. And I mean, even with approaching your entire application, when you're creating your personal statement, when you're, doing your meaningful experiences, those types of things, I think it's important. And I don't mean this to sound harshly, but don't come across as a victim. Like, I don't mean to say that in a bad way, but like, you don't want to just list off all these horrible things that happened to you. You don't want to just list why you couldn't do X, Y, and Z. You need to show that, yes, these experiences happened to me, but I've taken the initiative to learn from it, to grow, to go after what I could
Yeah.
to shape my application in a way. Because I think that's hard sometimes, like, especially for IMGs, like, there are so many odds stacked
Oh my
against you.
God. Yeah.
There's like a million, like, you log on to Instagram, you see them, you go on Reddit, you see everybody asking, what are my chances? Like, it's drilled into your head that this isn't going to be an easy process for you. But the thing that will set you apart is saying that I don't care about that. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care that this is going to be difficult. I don't care that this is going to be strenuous. This is what I want, and this is what I'm going to do to achieve it. And owning that unapologetically will come through in your application.
Yeah, and everybody's scared, really. Like everybody's worried, everybody's scared. But what I like, you don't get scared and then you sit back. Yeah, be scared, but go ahead and do what you want to do. What if it works? So I think that's what
What if it works?
happened. Yeah,
What if
I
it
mean, what if it
works? Like,
works? Yeah.
we talk about this a lot too with networking. I don't know how much, I'm sure you, like you said, I was just emailing from where I was because that's the best I could do. I mean, just reach out to people, reach out to connections, try your best to make those. The worst that they can say is no. The worst thing that can happen is no. At least put yourself out there.
Yeah, and you're gonna also get some yes, right? You email 10 people, there is no way 10 of them would say yes to you, but one person might, and that's okay. Yeah.
Exactly. It might not be everyone, but you're just looking for that one.
Yeah, and people
I
really
love
want to
that.
help you more than you think, because especially when it comes to during this season, I think around maybe August or September, I got like a list of alumni from my uni and I started to email all of them, and I introduced myself. I said I'm from this school and this is I'm applying, and could you help me review my CV? Could you help me like read my personal statement and stuff? And I think one of them replied and he said, I'm glad you're doing this. And he was so helpful throughout the season. So people want to help you more than you think they do want to help you.
They do. The IMG community is so supportive. Like, I can't lie. I'm not part of the IMG community, you guys. I'm not a doctor. People think that sometimes I think people think I'm a doctor. I'm not a doctor. But I just am so grateful to be able to have these conversations with you guys and support you and be just like a tiny part of your journey because
Yeah.
it's so empowering. I guess that's what I want
Yeah.
to say.
And very unique because everybody has their own unique story.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say yours is probably one of the most unique I've heard, and I am like about to leave this like I can do anything.
Yeah.
So I hope that's how anyone who
Yeah.
listens to this feels. Um, but when it comes to interviews, obviously, what was it like when you had the interview with the place you've matched at? Like, did you know? Was it like
Uh,
how like
I,
were they
I,
your
I,
number
I,
one? If you
I,
want to say, you don't have to say if they were your
no,
number one.
I didn't even know I was gonna match there actually, because I just had like some personal reasons why I didn't want to be in the city. It wasn't the program, it was the city, right? But then
Yeah,
looking back,
yeah.
I think I realized that this is actually where I'm meant to be. So I think my interview went pretty well. I was here in Nigeria and I had some technical issues like with electricity, internet, and stuff like that. So I remember just really feeling very hot, and I wanted to tell my interviewer that I'm not anxious. It's because there is power outage. So I think we had a pretty good conversation. I really loved the PD. I loved talking to him. It was a laid back interview. That's all I remember from the day. But I think that towards the end of the interview, he had told me that, oh, I do love your energy. And I think that you're going to be a good addition to our program. Or I think he said you're going to add enthusiasm to our program. But during the season, you're trained to think that any compliment is generic.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, it was So you're trained to think that every compliment is generic because you don't want to keep your hopes up and then somebody tells you that, oh yeah, you're a competitive applicant, you know, and that's not everything. So when he made the comment, I just thought it was like an offhand comment. But I think that when
I
I
think
got to
hold
actually,
on one second, really quickly.
okay,
I think we are, I don't know if it's me. You're just not sounding as loud,
I'm not able to hear you.
and I just don't want to.
Okay, I got a
You're better
call.
now. I can hear you much
Yeah,
better now. I
okay.
just didn't want to have you say all of that and then like we couldn't hear it
Yeah,
on the video.
yeah, okay. So I'm gonna, so yeah, I think I was talking about my interview. It was pretty laid back. That's what I remember. I was interviewed by the program director and the chief resident. And frankly, it wasn't one of my best interview experiences.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I had some technical issues. But I just remember having like a good conversation with the program director. He was more, I think he asked me questions about my medical school. He wanted to know how I graduated. He wanted to know what my experiences were like in Ukraine, what it was like studying in Ukraine. And we had those conversations and, he liked my story. And I think he remember telling me that he loved my energy and that he thought I was going to be a good, like he said he thought I was going to bring enthusiasm to the program. So I thought it was a generic compliment because, yeah, in the season, people teach you that the
That's
fact
where we
that
got
you're
to. This
told,
is where we got to. You were saying that during the season,
yes,
this is where we got to,
yeah,
but I just went out.
yeah, like I've heard like countless stories on Reddit. Reddit is like the home of both good and bad stories.
Yes.
I've heard countless stories of, people who are told, I'm going to rank you high, like you're a strong applicant, you're this and that. And, we are taught to not take every compliment because everybody who's interviewing with you is a great applicant and it's their job to be nice to you, right? So I genuinely thought it was a generic compliment. But when I matched there, I think I felt like good about being wanted. These people want me as much as I want to match. And yeah, I think I remember the comments and it made me warm. So I think I'm going to have a good time there.
Oh, I love that. No, you do see that on Reddit all the time. Like, the person said this to me. Like, should I take it to heart? And then all the
Yeah,
comments are like, no, no, no. I do
yeah,
see that all the time. They're
yeah.
savage on Reddit, man.
Yeah, and they tell us that programs don't want to soap. So they want to compliment everybody. Well, I think there are also some really genuine people and
I
some people,
do
as much
too.
as there
I
are
think it
some,
depends on the program. I do. I
yeah,
think that they do. I think you can't always take it to heart and be like, oh, I'm definitely going to put them as number one, like rank because they said
yeah,
that. But it should be like, hey, did that make you feel good and you feel good about being there? Then rank them
yeah.
highly. That's really what
Yeah,
it needs to be.
yeah. I
Just my
think
opinion.
after my interviews, I sat down after each interview and I thought myself, what are the pros? What are the cons? What did I think about this interview? Because I think it's also important going into the interview season to have the idea of the kind of program that you want. And it's actually like a potential interview question. I've had people ask me, what is your ideal program? They're essentially asking you why this program. So if you know the kind of program that you want to end up in, you can weigh those interactions. If you value diversity, you're looking at the people who are interviewing, you're looking at those who are interviewing with. If you value maybe wellness or balance, you're looking at how happy the residents are. You can also ask some questions to know. So I think it's important to know the kind of program that you want so that when you are also talking with them, you can gauge, do they fit into the box that I've created? Do they check the box? Do they fit into the criteria of the program that I want to be at? Yeah.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Well, so that was you went through your things, you knew that was a program that was good for you. Was it difficult? Were they at the top of your rank order list? You just knew.
No, actually, they weren't because I didn't want to go to the city, but it was like some personal reasons. It wasn't like anything to do with the program. So I remember saying that in as much as this is a university program, I don't want to be in the city, so I'm gonna push you guys. And I
Yeah, but
remember
it worked
something
out
like,
for the best. And that's okay. There's no hate
yeah,
and like maybe not feeling so great about that, but it worked
yeah,
out.
I think it was my mentor telling me that, oh, this program is going to offer you lots of opportunities, for the future, and we consider, bringing this program like up, and I did that, and I matched there. So I was just still trying to process. Okay, this is the kind of the city where I wanted to go, and now this is where I'm going. And I think I met my co-resident. We started to chat on Instagram, on Twitter, and we really like formed a good friendship. I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to be happy here. I think I'm going to do great here. So yeah.
I think so too. I think everything works out for a reason.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to upcoming applicants?
Hmm. I want to say believe in yourself, but that's like very cliche.
Well, no, that's a common thing that we do talk about in these videos is being authentic in your interviews and your application, not trying to be someone that, they're looking for, but being just yourself. So I don't think that's
Yeah.
necessarily corny.
Yeah, because you can't necessarily predict what they're looking for because each program has like a different culture and they have like the kind of residents they're looking for.
Here's what I'll say. This is what I'll say. What about for an applicant who is doubting their application in this upcoming cycle? That's a
Right.
good thing. What advice would you give to an applicant who's doubting their application?
If you're doubting your application, please take it from me. I doubted my application every day, but I had people who believed in me. I think that was one thing I had during the cycle. I had people who told me that, look, I don't know why you see yourself this way, but I think you're a great applicant, right? So, what I did, in as much as there were parts of my application that I felt like could have been better, I just graduated medical school. I didn't have like a ton of clinical experiences, So, but I told myself that, what I could do, I was going to do it to the best of my ability. I can write a PS and I'm going to write a very good PS. I'm going to pay someone to edit this PS. I have my CV and I'm not just going to list, oh, I did this. No, I focused on talking about what these experiences have taught me and the kind of resident that these experiences are going to make me be. I tutored in medical school, but I didn't just put it there that, oh, I tutored. No, I actually tied it into internal medicine. Internal medicine is very big on medical education. We are educating our patients, we're educating our juniors, we are learning from our seniors. I just spoke about those things. I had like, my hobby was like I had a book club and I wasn't just talking about like just my love of reading. I was talking about how it taught me to relate with people, learn from people. And I'm going to go into residency where like they're probably like people from different countries. So I focused on each experience. What did I learn from it? And how is that going to make me a good resident? So I would say that the things that you can do for your application, try to do them well, the ones that you can control, and leave the ones that you cannot control. Um, Networking, I know that there's been like a lot of conversations around networking recently. Like everybody says that the scores are not enough, scores are not everything, and all that. So I would say that, yeah, do reach out to people. And there are people who think that, oh, because I do not have a family who is a family member who is a doctor in the US, but you have an alumni, you have someone from your medical school. Why not reach out to them?
Exactly.
Mentorship doesn't,
Or
yeah,
even
mentorship
someone
doesn't
from
have,
your country. Like I hear it too, even if someone from your home country, people, if you reach out
yeah,
and say, hey, I'm also from X, Y, and Z, and I really would love your support in this, you might get a response. I mean, there's no
yeah.
harm in trying.
I did. I remember reaching out to somebody from my home country. I've never met him before on Twitter. And I just told him that, look, this is where I'm from and I'm applying. And, a few months later during the season, he texted me and he said, oh, I want to recommend you to my program. And that's how I got one of my interviews. And I've never met him before. Yeah, I've never met him before. So, just do it. you know,
Give it a shot.
just
Put
do it.
yourself
And
out there.
mentorship does not mean that the person's going to call you every week and have a cup of coffee. It might just be something as simple as reading through your personal statement. That's mentorship, right? I know
Yeah.
sometimes people expect some formal thing. No, and be straightforward. Let them know what you want from them. They're really going to help. And I would say, like, yes, do believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. I don't know how to say that because there is no ideal applicant. Um, there isn't like nah, like these are like people, and I'm not gonna like everybody. Everybody's not gonna like me, but there is somebody who's gonna like me, right? So find your own people and hope that your own people find you. Yeah, I'll just say like really, really believe in yourself. Everybody's afraid, everybody's scared. There's nobody who passes through that is isolated in that worrying or having like you're not the only person who has like a difficult journey. A lot of people have that difficult journey with you. So don't feel like it's just you who has all these setbacks. No, a lot of people are
Lean on
doing
that
it, and
community. Lean on that
yeah,
community. I
and they're doing
completely
it
agree.
regardless. Yeah, so please don't isolate yourself. Let people know what you're doing. Let them support you. And yeah, I think you can't do it alone. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna be able to do it alone.
I love that. I love that. Honestly, I think that's one of the best resounding messages I've had. Can't do it alone. The residency application process, maybe it's about you, but at the end of the day, it can't be done alone. So lean on your support. You can always reach out to us at Match Your Resident if you need help. I'm sure that you could reach out to her as well, our guest
Yeah,
today. I mean,
yes.
I'll share what was I think your miracle, I'm trying to remember your
It's
handle.
Diary of an Internist, manifesting my
Okay, well, we'll make sure that it's also in the caption. So I'm sure that anything that we can do, we're here to help you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much to everyone who listened today. Thank you everyone who turned in. Thank you so much for being my guest today. I
Yeah.
like am just so happy. Like I am inspired by this story. I know that I'm about to have an amazing day as a result. So I can't wait for everyone who gets to listen to this and also feel the same. Like no matter what's going on, no matter how hard it might seem in this moment, just keep that goal in mind. Lean on your support. Be yourself. These things will guide you through.
Yeah. I think one last thing I just remembered that
Go
was
for it.
very
Yeah,
key.
take your time. Take your time.
Um, yeah. Take feedback, but not from everybody. I think,
Okay. I mean, that's
yeah,
pointed. Honestly, that's
yeah,
a pointed one.
yeah.
Before we
So,
end, I feel like we should elaborate on that a little bit more.
okay. So, just the way that there are like people have different ideas of what or ideas of what a personal statement should look like. If you
Yeah.
talk to 10 people, they have 10 different views of a personal statement. If you talk to 10 different people, there are people that, okay, for the CV, they are like bullet points versus paragraph. Everybody's going to have something very
Mhm.
individual, and that reflects their own journey. That reflects what has worked for them. I remember one time coming on Insta and somebody said, oh, you cannot match without US linker experience. Yeah. And I
That's
was
not
like,
true. That's not true. People say that. We
yeah,
get that a lot. There will be like, I don't have any USCE. Can I never match? And we always say, no, it's not impossible. Of course, it might be a little bit more of an obstacle. It
yeah,
might be because there are some programs that qualify having USCE, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible to match. I mean, you're proof. We've had many other applicants who are proof of that.
yeah.
So
So I think I had these voices saying, okay, this is impossible without, like you can do this without. And then on the other hand, I had two real life examples of people who had done it. So I think I had two choices, either like follow this and say, oh, well, I can't apply without this, or look at people who have done it and also really hope that this also works out for me. I think one personal experience that I can share is I'd worked on my peers, I think pretty early during the process, and I'd paid somebody to edit it professionally. She had like the experience and I wanted to like leverage that. And I remember like, you go on Twitter, you go online and people are like, oh, you can submit this, I can help you review for free. And I
mhm.
decided to take advantage of that and I did that. And, she just emailed me and then she said, oh, your PS is one sad sub story. And oh my God, like that was very demoralizing, very demoralizing. And it made me feel like, oh, all these months of hard work. So I
Oh
remember like
my God, that's so
yeah, I was
mean.
I was I was shedding tears. I was feeling like I was not good enough. So I was crying and then I was like, okay, and then I started to look at my peers again. I'm like, okay, um maybe this is like one
Who
sad
is
sob
this
story.
girl? I will fight her. What? That's not
So, and then I
nice.
begin to like just, clear things from my personal statements. And then I remember a friend telling me that no, you don't do this in these moments that you're feeling defeated. And throughout this season, I was feeling insecure about the personal statement. But thankfully, during one of my the sessions in our tele-rotation, our preceptor had brought somebody who wanted to review the personal statement. And no, she said, does anybody want to share? And I just remember like feeling very insecure about the story. But then somebody told me, no, you don't have anything to lose. And I said, okay, I'm going to share my personal statement. And I told them that, oh, I'm really insecure about my peers, but I don't know what else to do to make it better. And I share it. And then everybody in the class is like, oh my God, you have such a strong story. You have such a powerful story. Please share this story. Please share this story. And I know what that did for me. So whenever you listen to people who are going to advise you, they're going to advise like that, and they're legitimate, like it is their own experience, but it doesn't have to be yours. So learn to pick what you need to pick and not listen to everybody during the season. Yeah.
Anyone who's gonna be mean like that is not looking out for you. I'm sorry. Like you can just say even from that, I mean, I understand harsh criticism, but like also constructive criticism is more
Yeah, I
important.
think I felt like
So
there were better ways that she could have framed it without yeah, making it like hurtful.
if
But yeah, I think I learned from that.
focus more on like how this and that, but being like, oh, that was just one long sob story. Like, excuse me, ma'am, that is my life. Like
Yeah.
I'm not
So
lying. Like this is what happened. But
yeah,
clearly she was wrong. And I'm glad that you shared that story for everyone listening to this because, you know, I know I mentioned earlier about not being a victim. That doesn't mean that you aren't a victim. Like you could have had a lot of traumatic things happen to you. You could have had a sob story, something that was really hard to overcome and get through. I'm just saying that at the end of it, focusing on the positive aspects of your personality that
Yeah,
it cultivated. That's what I care about. But give them the details, Like, I'm sorry that I'm getting a little passionate here, but like, I think you were in every right to tell your story, how things went
yeah,
for you, because this is literally defining of who you are and the traits that you possess.
yeah. I think that in as much as please do not put any cringy things in your personal statement. Don't talk about, don't do the like when I was a child and this and that and that. You don't have to do your personal statement that way. But if that is a powerful part of your story, please do tell it. I remember a PS had read during this cycle. We are not like we are dissuaded from telling like, oh, when I was a child, when I was this. You don't have to say that. But this was a PS of somebody whose mom had overcome domestic violence, right? So that was not a good story in the sense of, when I was a child, but that led her to obstetrics and gynecology. And she can't tell her passion, or she can't tell her story or her path to OBGYN without telling the story of her mom and domestic violence. So if you have such a story and it was like very integral, please, you have the permission to share that, but please do not focus on the gory details only. Make sure that you're highlighting what that has taught you, what that has made you be right now, and how it's going to impact your practice or the kind of resident you're going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Another very powerful point by you today. I am just like, do you want to do this interview? I mean, I don't know. You know what to talk about, you
Yeah,
know what to say. And I mean, I think it's really true. I think, you know, the IMG experience is very unique. The
very
IMG experience is not something that every program is going to relate to. But that doesn't
exactly.
mean that you need to hide who you are as an IMG. Like, these things about yourself that, yeah, maybe you don't need all the gory details, but literally shaped you, that literally impacted the way that you view life, that's okay to share, because that's why we're all here, right? We're all here to contribute in a way that we give our different perspectives so we can learn from one another. And being open and transparent about that will make it clear that you are an asset to any residency program.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. I really hope I'm able to inspire people, let them know that you don't have to be the most ideal applicant to match. I think I had like a pretty good season. I applied to 80 programs. I got 10 interviews. Four or five were from university programs. And I was like, why, I don't have USCE. Why am I here? And I just want people to know that, oh, you don't have to take, like, do your best, please do your best. Make sure you're putting your best foot forward. But then if there are aspects of your application that you can't really help, like maybe an attempt that has happened or a year of graduation that has happened, what are you going to do? Just try to, amplify the other positive parts of your application.
I completely agree. And I think it is going to be inspirational because I'm inspired. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so
you to
much. I
everyone
really
for
enjoyed,
watching.
yeah, I really enjoyed being here, reliving the whole season.
You did. You were amazing. And I'm sure we're going to collab in the future. So everybody keep an eye out. But thank you for watching,
All right.
everybody. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
All right. Bye.